This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 20 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, presented by Equestrian Life. Exclusive coverage of the world of dressage. We would like to thank our sponsors, Equestrian Life. They can be found at equestrianlife.com, and Kentucky Performance Products. They can be found online at kppusa.com. This is Chris Stafford in Lexington, Kentucky.
And I'm Debbie McDonald, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show presented by Equestrian Life.
Well, hi, Debbie. Good to have you back again.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
And tell us where exactly you are, because when we spoke this week, you had been subjected to an enormous downfall of snow, and it's only October, Debbie, so you have to explain to everybody where you are.
Well, I'm in Idaho, up in Sun Valley, Idaho. And in the 25 years that I've lived here, I would have to say I've never experienced such a snowstorm this time of year. It took everybody by surprise. It got extremely cold. And then we ended up having a winter storm warning with 6 inches of snow. The problem being that a lot of rain came before the 6 inches, and so everything was saturated. And then came the 6 inches of heavy snow, and a lot of the trees were down. We had power outages, and my poor horses that are out in the pastures that live out there were not prepared coat-wise for it. So we had to actually bring most of them, as many as we could, into the barn, dry them off, blanket them. Some we kept in the barn for that night. I mean, it was awful. I couldn't believe it was happening already so early.
That's way too early. I hope that's not an indication of what kind of winter you're heading into, Deb.
Oh, me too. Me too. I just don't like him that well anymore.
So what did you have, ice? Was it freezing?
Well, we had a little bit of ice for sure. I mean, but they do take good care of the roads, although even though it took everybody by surprise, it seemed to be just warm enough that the roads didn't get too treacherous. It was just more mess than anything.
More mess and inconvenience. Well, how many horses do you have at home right now, Debbie?
We have probably 22 on the property at the moment.
Wow. That's a lot of horses to catch a cold in October.
Yeah. I would say outside we probably have about 8. So, but that's still a lot to try to get in and dried off and warm and
yes.
But they're all fine. They're happy. Everybody's happy right now.
Well, good. Well, hopefully that, this isn't an indication of what's to come, and we don't want any more stories like that from you for a few weeks at least. Get it right into the winter before you have your serious snow, right?
That's what I'm saying.
All right, Debbie. Well, we're in for a great show this week. I talked to Isabell Werth, and she shares with us her account of all kinds of things. She's just a couple of weeks off giving birth to her first child.
Oh, my gosh. Boy, time flies. It just doesn't seem that long ago I read that she was pregnant.
I know. There's something in the air in Germany because Meredith Michaels-Beerbaum, she's also expecting her first child too. So it's a trend with riders in Germany right now.
Oh, wow.
And so, we had a great conversation, and we talked about the imminent birth of her first child and a number of other things. So, we're looking forward to sharing that with you all today. So that's a great interview. But before we get into that, we want to talk about our news this week. And it was just the last few days we heard from the IOC that the 2016 Olympics is going to Rio de Janeiro, Debbie. That is going to be a good thing for South America.
I guess so. After it was brought to my attention that it had never been in that area, then I thought that was, they had a very strong case. I was a little bit sad that it wasn't here, because it always is nice to have things closer to home. Because it seems like we're the ones that always seem to have to travel so far. But it does seem fair, and it does seem right that they do have an opportunity to be involved, for sure.
I think so too, since they've never had it down there before, and I think they had a pretty good case. But I was very surprised. I was following the voting, and it was via video coverage online at the IOC's website last week, and that Chicago actually was eliminated after the first round of voting, and I thought it was going to be down to nail-biting finish between Rio and Chicago. But
I too.
That was a surprise.
I didn't even know that till right now when you just said that. I had no idea what other countries were up at the end.
Madrid and Tokyo. So Chicago went out in the first round. Tokyo went out in the second round. So it was down to Madrid and Rio, and we had to wait another hour before Jacques Rouge, the president of the IOC, announced that. And it was a real surprise, I think, to a lot of people. And it's been interesting following, the political commentators on this, because they all had their take, since President Obama took off to Copenhagen to present the case for Chicago hosting the games alongside with the First Lady. So there was an awful lot of conversation going on around that as to whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, and whether it was a dead cert that we would get the games here or not. And politics are a funny thing, aren't they? But I think at the end of the day, probably sport won over here, and I think it's fair that it goes to another part of the world. It is the Olympics after all.
I agree. I think it would, and I'm sure that knowing that they haven't had it and, they're really going to be looked at, I think they're probably going to do a fabulous job.
And interestingly, we're used to the Brazilians fielding a very strong dressage team and jumping team, but not so much with the eventers. So it will be interesting to see who they field for the World Equestrian Games next year, Deb.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting. I think the whole process of the World Equestrian Games are going to be a little interesting for next year.
And nobody's making any predictions right now, except I did talk to Isabell about this as well, so we'll be interesting to hear what she has to say.
Oh, wow.
But you've got some great Olympic stories to tell. Are you going to share any of your Olympic experiences with us? Anything that, when you think back on your Olympic times and those special moments, Deb, what comes to mind?
I would say, one of the things that I kind of remember and actually some of the most fond times that I've had is actually, getting to do things with teammates that you normally wouldn't do, and really building some strong relationships for the future. It's more about the travel and the journey than it really is about going down the center line. I mean, yes, we all don't take that the wrong way. That's a very big, important part of it. But I think at the end of the day, when your journey's over, it's those memories that you're going to remember, and the people you meet along the way that make things so special, and little stories that you have to tell. I mean, I've told this story before because I found it so humorous that when we were in Athens, I don't know if you knew, but they had put several dogs down before the games because they were so overrun with stray animals. And so they did put several dogs down, and the team had rented for us what they called a Greek mansion, which was a house that was many, many stories high, just very couple little bathrooms and huge kitchen. It was quite bizarre, but nevertheless, we had our team doctor with us, and it was quite quiet out a couple of the evenings. But we didn't ever attribute it to any special night. And mind you, we were spending the time at the house with the show jumping team as well as part at the eventing team. And then it came to our time to compete. And, the nights in between were just the dogs just barking all the time. You could hardly sleep, and it was hot. There was no air conditioning. So the, windows had to be open and fans going. And it wasn't called to my attention till later that they actually somebody mentioned, did you notice how quiet it was the other night? And we all looked at each other and we said, yeah, it was kind of quiet. I wonder why, And then somebody had confessed that I guess our team doctor was going around and throwing some hamburger around that had some little sleeping pills in them so that we could all get good night's sleep before the competition.
That's funny.
But you walk away with so many funny and fun stories, and I think that's what's so special about those team events, and getting to see the world. And it's just, those are things that you have many stories to remember the rest of your life.
Absolutely, and as you pointed out right there at the top of that story, Debbie, it is about the whole crew, isn't it? And it's how few of you. When you look at how many people get on a team in their lives, it really is the top of the pyramid. And for the rest of the people out there that are competing at all levels of the sport, they don't experience that. I mean, that is a privilege to experience that team and understand the fabric of what makes up fielding an international team to travel.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many people involved in it that make it happen, and not only does every rider have their team behind them, but then you take our team itself, the USEF and USET, and what it takes for them to actually be able to put this whole thing together and the thought and the, planning. It's unbelievable what these people do for us. To make it happen and all go smoothly. There's so much involved.
Well, you mentioned all these people that make it happen for you, and I know you have one special groom in Ruben. And don't you have a story to tell us about Ruben and the nominations that, well, it wasn't a nomination, it was recognition, and I know that you put out a word to have Ruben's efforts recognized.
Well, apparently it was called to my attention that he was nominated for the FEI Groom of the Year. And so I didn't know what that entailed, but I just kept telling everybody on my Facebook page that anybody that knows Ruben knows that he literally would die for Brentina or for any of his horses that he grooms. I mean, if there was a threat, he'd be right there,
Yes.
And I just, the career that he had with that mare and just knowing his dedication and his hard work and his attitude, always so upbeat. And there's nobody that ever has been around him that said a bad word. That says a lot when they spend a lot of time together. And anyway, so I did find out that it's voted on, I guess, by a committee, a group of people. But the more nominations that come in, then that's better for him. And I don't even really know when this is to be voted on, but anybody out there, if you know Ruben and know how dedicated he is, I guess it's on the FEI website. So, but I'm hoping for him. But like I told him, it's such an honor to even be recognized.
Yes.
That there's so many wonderful grooms that have never even been nominated for something like this. So he feels pretty excited about it.
Well, that's terrific. Now, where is Ruben now? What and he's still grooming for you, right?
Oh yes, very much. He's our head guy. He's planning on doing all the Europe trips with Adrian now, and he's still very much part of it, and he still treats Mama like she's going down center line at the Olympics. So it's pretty cute to watch, I have to say.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's a great story. Well, then we just have one more item of news this week, and that comes out of a sale that was held at the Oldenburger sales just a couple of weeks ago. Don Premio, the 2009 state champion of Oldenburg of Rasted, was sold at the auction for what was around $736,000.
Wow. That is enormous.
That's a big sum of money, isn't it?
It sure is.
The 2006 gelding by Don Primero out of a Castro mare was sold to Denmark at the auction, in which 45 horses were sold to buyers from a dozen nations, including 9 to the US and Canada and 1 to Japan. So that's a big chunk of change there. But also Rick Sylvia's Starlight, the 2000 Sandro hit stallion, who was a champion at Dressage of Devon last year, fetched the second highest price of about $248,000. And that horse was sold to a German buyer. Another big purse there. The auction itself brought in a total of around $2.8 million. So a lot of money changing hands over there for these horses, Debbie.
Yeah, I'd say that's a huge figure, especially in today's economy.
It certainly is. Yes, it just shows that that the horse world may not be recession proof, but it certainly is managing to survive quite healthily despite the economic downturn.
Yeah, well, it definitely looks to be that way when you see those figures.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, we're going to hear from our guest this week, so stay tuned.
It is fantastic to have our friends at Equestrian Life as the title sponsors for the Dressage Radio Show. If you have not been to Equestrian Life yet, you need to go. In addition to being the official social community for the Horse Radio Network, it is one of the fastest growing horse communities on the internet. It is truly the Facebook for horse people. The goal of EquestrianLife.com is to bring equestrians together and to provide them with the breadth and depth of information and tools they need to learn and connect with other horse lovers who share the same passion. EquestrianLife.com is a fun, inviting website that strives to provide its members with a world-class experience that fosters the expression of all the ways people enjoy their horses and the people who are part of the horse world. EquestrianLife.com's social media platform provides users with cutting-edge applications and tools, such as people and horse profiles, social Q&A, status updates, messaging, photo uploading, groups, comments, blogs, expert high-definition videos, directories, birthday reminders, alerts, messaging, and on and on and on, in addition to their partnership with the Horse Radio Network. This community is designed by horse people for horse people and is filled with educational and entertaining video and audio all about our horses. Right on over to Equestrian Life today. Sign up for free and tell all of your friends. If you love horses, EquestrianLife.com is the place to be.
Well, thanks again to our sponsors, Equestrian Life. Of course, they are the official social network of the Horse Radio Network, so please check them out at equestrianlife.com. Well, we're going to listen to our chat with Isabell Werth, our featured guest of the show this week, and it was an absolute privilege to sit down with Isabell and hear what she's getting up to these days, as she obviously she's been sidelined for a while, and not least of all as she gets ready to give birth to her first child. And so that, as she said, with us all kinds of stories, so we're really looking forward to sharing that with you. So I don't think Isabell needs any introduction from me about her accomplishments. Do you think so, Debbie?
I don't think so. I wanted to ask you, do you know if she's having a boy or a girl?
You'll have to wait to listen to the story.
You're not going to cough it up, huh?
That's right.
Okay.
All right, let's hear what Isabell has to say. Well, Isabell, welcome to the Dressage Radio Show, and thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Fine, thank you, and welcome to everybody. Thank you.
Well, it's very nice of you to spend some time with us, because as we record this show, Isabell, you just have a few short weeks before the baby arrives, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
And what is the due date, Isabell?
It's the beginning of November, so end of October, but no, normally it's the 1st of November.
And do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
Yeah, I know. And it's no secret anymore because, it's around. It will be a boy.
It will be a boy. Oh, well, wonderful. And do you have a name ready for him?
Yeah, but that's a secret.
You have to have some news in a few weeks, right?
Yeah, but I had enough news now, so it's I'm happy to have no other news more.
Oh, well, and tell us, is it all been going well? How was this your first pregnancy? Was it all very easy for you?
Yeah, it was really a lucky pregnancy. It was without any problems, and from the start and from the beginning till now, and especially in a very hard time. I think he's very hard to take and resistant. So I hope a good sign for the future and for his future.
Oh, that's exciting. And so were you riding up until recently? Do you still sit on a horse?
Yeah, but just a few rounds walk and just a bit for my few rounds trot for my heart and for myself and most of the time I sit in the corner and teach my team and look the horses, and so it's another point of view, but it's really interesting for me as well to see the horses now from the ground and to see what has to become better and to improve the horses, the team, my riders, and so it's a good time. But of course, I'm happy to come back to on the horse again.
Well, I'm sure, just to set the scene, Isabell, for our listeners around the world, obviously you're based in Germany. Describe, if you would, exactly your setting there, your home and your business establishment there, and what part of Germany you're in.
So we are in the west of Germany, near Düsseldorf, 40 kilometers away from Düsseldorf, close to the border of to Netherlands. So it's. This region here is full of horses and stables, I think, and here I came back 6 years ago to the farm of my parents, and we built up a stable here, and I was growing up here with on a normal farm, my parents' farm, and with all animals you can imagine on a farm, and horses were there as well. So I started with horses as a child, and then I started by Dr. Schönbaumer and was there for 16 years, and then I started my own stable in 2003. In between, I was 2 years by Madeleine Winter-Schulze, my mécène. I don't know exactly the English word, but she's really my friend, family, sponsor, everything together. The owner of all the horses I ride and sport, and then when the stable were finished here and were prepared, I came back to my parents' farm, and so I'm here now since 6 years, and we started our own business, and we are really happy here at home, and everything works quite good.
Well, of course, everyone knows you as being the dressage rider, but I know that somewhere back in your childhood you were very, very keen on jumping and eventing. So was that difficult to leave that all behind, or do you still have this sort of will you want to go and jump something, or do you still do that when you can?
No, I think it was a bit like a normal rider in all the riding clubs around the world. I started with a pony. My pony was funny, and I started with little competitions in dressage and jumping, and later on a bit in eventing. And it was depending on the horses I could ride, and so it was a mixture of everything. And I think it gave me a very good basic, and that was really important for my whole riding. So the basic was with all disciplines, and I had the chance to ride a lot of different horses. So that was, I think, really helpful as well. But always my favorite was dressage. I don't know why, but I was always fascinated from the kind of moving and to improve the moving of horses and to feel once with together with the horse and as one person with the horse. Then when I got the chance to start with Dr. Schönbaumer, it was just, the first idea was just to see there, to learn. His own children were riding still at that time, and so it was just the opportunity to see how it works in such a big and successful stable. And then it came step by step that I could start with successful horses, with Madras, with Weingart, and then I got Gigolo as a young horse, and so the story started, but it was not planned. It was a great chance, and we could use the chance, and it was my dream to come up in dressage.
Well, we reported just last week, Isabell, of the passing of Gigolo, a wonderful partner for you for so many years, amazing successes, a very sad time for you to lose him.
That's right. He was 20 years partner in my life, and it was a very close partnership because we started together. And then, nearly 10 years, a bit more than 9 years, he was, after his career, he was in the field, he was retired, and I was just proud to have him here and to take care of him, and I'm so thankful to have this time with such a great horse, and it was, this horse was more than successful, and maybe the most successful dressage horse after the war. But this was a special relationship, and it's a bit like it's difficult to say, but maybe a bit like a human relationship. It was. A long term.
It really was, and he gave you so much, but wonderful memories. Are there any with your relationship with him that really stand out as very special? I mean, there must have been so many special moments, but any little things that when you think of Gigolo, that's what comes to mind.
Like you said, I had really a lot of special moments. The first special moment was when I was testing him, because he was owned by the son of Dr. Schönbaumer first, before we got him. And when I tested him, it was a bit funny, because he was really without muscles, and I was I sit on and I thought, okay, let us see. You really have to give me a good feeling when we should become friends, because he was not the most beautiful horse in the world, and so it was really special at the first minutes on him. And as soon he started to trot, I felt home, and this was my horse. And we tested two horses, and Dr. Schönbaumer gave me the chance to decide which one and to choose. And it was no doubt it was Gigolo, and that was the first second where I said, this is my home here, and then outstanding time started, and he was so clever, and in 1 year we got him when he was 6, and with 7 he was ready for Grand Prix already. He was the best young horse, the best young Grand Prix horse in Germany, and with 8 he was European champion, and so it was really quick and straight and easy, and because of this really outstanding horse.
And it's interesting how the timing, Isabell. You lose one very important partner in your life, like Gigolo, and then another door opens, and you're about to, have your own child for the first time. One door closes, another one opens.
That's really life, and this year is really special because with a lot of doors closing and opening, and it was really a special moment and a very hard moment to decide, but at the end it was just necessary and a bit my my duty to him, so then because of that at the end it was the right way and the right decision and the right time, and now I'm really excited and happy to wait for my baby and to see another. There's a new thing in my life, a new human in my life coming soon, and so that's another special and outstanding moment.
Well, it is, but we shouldn't forget, of course, your other two big boys there in the barn, Satchmo and Warum. So what are they doing at this time, Isabell? How have they been spending these past few months?
No, they are fit and in a good way, and Satchmo is the one I ride still a few rounds, and Don Johnson. But Hannes is a bit too dangerous at the moment, so he's. I do not ride him anymore. But here my team is riding and training the horses, and it's fun to see, and I really enjoy day by day to help them to improve. And I think it's good for them all. For me to see, I learn a lot to see the horses from the ground, and I think my team is improving a lot because they learn a lot from these horses, and the horses are fit and relaxed. So it's good for the whole time. I think it's good to come back and on one hand to wait for the baby, and on the other hand to come over my doping case and to come through this really awful situation. And it was never I've expected that I would come in such a situation. But it happened, and it happened because of misinformation of my wet. But he felt awful as well. So we have to come through this, and it was not a typical doping case, but it's always difficult then to explain, or that people believe in you still and believe in the case instead of, especially in Germany, there was a big mess and a big discussion, and my federation was not really helpful for me. But that was a very special experience I made the last months, and I really hope that I can come through it stronger than before.
And as you mentioned, the German suspension was, of course, longer than the FEI suspension. So I think a surprise to many people, Isabell, including yourself.
This suspension is just something for the media. It doesn't mean that I can't ride, so I can how do you say? So normally I could start with shows at the end of the year again, but of course of the baby it will I will take more time to come back, but and to come back to competitions. But we had a lot of pressure here from the media, and I think they had the feeling to make an example with me. Because there were no reason for it, and and especially to go to go over the suspension from the FEI, and but that's it. And that was one very bad experience I made. That you have a lot of friends when it works well and when you're successful. And more than 20 years I'm in the international sport, and I don't know how many doping controls I made with so many different kind of horses. And Whisper is a super horse, and we just tried to help him with the shivering syndrome and with the problems because of that. And it doesn't mean that he couldn't move or work or compete. He really loves to move, and always I thought it's our goal and our challenge to make horses better with riding, and of course, if there are a healthy problem, to try to make it as best as possible. And there's nothing. It doesn't mean anything with doping. It's a veterinarian part, and Dr. Stiel is a very good, maybe one of the best vets. And I think he's well known in the States as well. And so, yeah, what should I say more? There was a mistake he made, but it was no plan at that moment to compete him in that show. It was a bit more Zufall. How do you say what's Zufall? It was a bit a lucky situation. At the end, it was unlucky, but another horse was injured 2 days before. So because of that, we took him to the show. So it was really nothing planned, and because of that, it was not doping. But it's always when you have such a situation, you have to defend, and to defend, it's always a bad position.
And, of course, as the German chef d'équipe Klaus Roser has said, he believes that you'll be available again for the team in time for Giro Aachen and the World Equestrian Games. And we're looking forward to that, Isabell, because while you've been relaxing there, getting ready for the baby, there's been some incredible world records being broken. So you must have been sitting on the sideline there watching this happening, and very interesting viewing for you, too, a different perspective.
Yeah, that's right. It was interesting to see this, and Edward was doing a great job, and I think Adelinde as well. It's a special, it was special to see, and I think it's a new style. And we see how it will go on like this, and it was exciting to see. But it was a time, and now with during my pregnancy, it was a bit. It was interesting to sit there, quite relaxed, and to see. Okay, let's see what happens, and so we see how it goes on next year. And I think it becomes very, very exciting for the World Championships, especially then with Steffen and with other Americans. So we see how the new style will go on.
And it's interesting, as you say, watching this the sport evolve in these last few months even, Isabell, how, we've got some really good horses here, as you mentioned, and then with the Dutch horses, but also interesting to watch the European Championships and the emergence of the British horse and rider combinations there. There's something that's fairly new to the international dressage scene. I mean, as you will recall, not that many years ago, the Russians were very prominent in the sport, and more Eastern Europeans. And now we've got the emergence of America, of course, but England. That was interesting to watch, wasn't it? The British riders.
You know, to see the British, I really expected that the British riders would become very dangerous for the German team and really close to the top. And Laura made a really great job the whole season because this horse is super, and that this horse is super. I think we know since years, but now since a long time, and maybe especially the last year or the last 12 months, she could show the horse in a really constant way, and so I was. For me, I was. I thought that she would become an individual medal, and that she would become really successful. And then with Emma, she really improved the last months as well with the horse, and very constant. Before she was. One competition she was good, and then the next one was not as good, and so it was not as safe as she showed it the last month. And I think they were really motivated to beat the Germans, and and at the end it was not a super result for us, just to be third, and of course it was. Not really successful not to come home with an individual medal. It's the first time I don't know how long since how long, but that's a sport, and I think it makes it very interesting. And now the British riders, I think there's a new generation, and it becomes really interesting next year as well. I think that it's good for young riders now to see it's possible, it can work, and in Germany we discussed it since 10 years that we need to become better from the basic, that we have good riders, good trainers, good horses, maybe the best basic in the world, but that we need more combinations. And at the moment we miss more good combinations, and that's the reason why the other nations are more successful, and we could get just the third place instead of first or second.
And you mentioned the bringing on the young riders and horses, finding those combinations, Isabell, and this is becoming so important everywhere as it becomes increasingly competitive among the nations and opening up more to other nations and not just the regular medal winners, so to speak. And that I think is we've found over here in the States that we've developed these nurtured young rider and talent programs, and they did this very successfully in England, I believe, over the last few years. And there's something I'm sure that you're involved with. You have your own students, and you're all about looking for new talent, new combinations. Huh?
I have three young students. I try to support and to bring up, and then I have an Australian rider with Hayley, my Breiterin. She was really successful last season, and so we try our own thing here and our own business to develop and to grow up, and to grow up as a very successful team. And because it's always, I think, a reason of more private engagement instead of a federation thing in Germany. The Dutch, the maybe I don't know exactly how it works in England and in the States, but I think the Dutch are the best example of a whole marketing tool they made with the young riders, and now they are really successful, and I think they have a really wide basic now, and not only 2-3 good riders. They have 5, 6, and 7 good riders and horses, and that means that if there's a combination not in the as fit as necessary, there's competition, in this country now to come in the team. This was I think the big German advantage a few years ago. But we missed the moment to maybe the other ones were more hungry than the Germans, and I think this is a reason why now the distance of all the different countries and nations become closer and closer, and that's a good competition. But of course, you can imagine that I feel a bit sorry for Germany.
Well, absolutely, we would understand that. But from watching these teams and riders compete this year, which of those would you think, which nations are going to be the biggest threat to you when the World Equestrian Games comes around next year, Isabell? Any predictions?
I think there are 4 or 5 teams really, really strong. There are, of course, the Dutch, the Americans, the English team. Maybe the English team is in the second position at the moment. We see what happens next to Steffen next year. In this team, and then the Danish team, the Swedish team, and I hope the Germans.
Well, I'm sure that that it's going to be very, very exciting when we do get to Kentucky here next year. A very exciting competition. But in the meantime, a lot of work for you to get back into the saddle and be fit and getting those horses fit for selection. Isabell, what would your plans be? How soon do you expect to be riding again after you have the baby?
I don't know exactly. We will see when I can start. I think it's too early to say. It can be in February or March, or maybe it's in April, or I don't know exactly. We will see how it works with the baby. And first, this is really the most important thing now. And to be honest, the German Federation took a bit my heart, and it's not easy to go back to German shows for me.
Well, it will be a very interesting time for you, and I'm sure, as you say, this is the most important thing in your life now, is to have the baby successfully, and your Christmas is going to be very different now.
Yeah, that's right. But I have a niece and a nephew, and so I'm a bit used to have children around. So it's not totally different, but of course with our own baby, it's special, and I'm really happy to look forward for it.
But we have to wonder if you've been riding up until very recently, when this little boy is born, if he will be a natural rider because he's so used to the rhythm of the horse.
We were joking. We said that when there are just two possibilities. Never again he will touch a horse, or he will be crazy for horses and for riding, and then it becomes difficult, because when he wants to start with the first pony, now he's used to have really good horses and long reasons, so it will become difficult to find the right one, I think.
Well, Isabell, it's been so much fun talking to you, and we really wish you the very best of luck. Just a few weeks to go before your first baby arrives, and have the best time with him and your first Christmas holidays, and we very much look forward to seeing you back on the international scene and hopefully coming to Kentucky for the World Equestrian Games. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to look forward, and of course I'm really excited to see what's going on in Kentucky. I've heard that it's well prepared and that they're all really looking forward to having the show there. But I'm sure it will become a very successful show, and we will try to be part of it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Isabell, and we will talk to you again maybe in the new year when the baby's here and we can actually call him by his name.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabell.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, that was a lot of fun talking to Isabell, Debbie. She really, has got a lot on her plate right now, and I know she'll be coming back after she gives birth to her son. And as you heard, she wasn't going to give away the name.
No.
But it would be great to have her back when, and as we heard, I've invited her to come back on the show when she's got used to motherhood and before she gets too busy preparing her horses for a selection for the World Equestrian Games. So it was a privilege to have her on the show.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, we'll take another short break here. And when we come back, we're going to hear your training tip of the week, Debbie. So stay tuned.
Oversupplementation can be a problem, and not every horse needs a supplement. But when they do, you can count on Kentucky Performance Products to provide scientifically formulated, research-proven products that target specific challenges facing your dressage horses. Developed to complement, not compete with a balanced diet, KPP supplements will enhance the well-being of your horse. Kentucky Performance Products, helping you keep your horses healthy, sound, and competitive. Dressage horses sweat. As they sweat, horses lose water and vital electrolytes. Summer Games Plus Electrolyte Paste mimics the composition of equine sweat, supplying your horse with the exact amounts of electrolytes he needs. But what makes Summer Games Plus really unique is that it also contains Nalox antacid. Nalox protects your horse's stomach from the negative effects of stress. This extra protection is especially important for horses exposed to stressful situations such as competition, transportation, and unfamiliar stabling. Summer Games Plus is packaged in an easy-to-use syringe, making administration fast and accurate, especially at shows. So when your horse is on the go, keep him at the top of his game with dual-action Summer Games Plus Electrolyte Paste. Brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, helping you keep your horses healthy, sound, and competitive. Visit them at kppusa.com. That's kppusa.com.
Well, thanks again to our sponsors, KPP USA. Please check them out at kppusa.com. Our valued sponsors make this show possible. Well, Debbie, we're coming to your training tip of the week. So what do you have in store for us this week?
Well, I kept thinking, we talk so much about the happy horse, and I thought it was maybe, helpful for me to explain how I try to keep my horses happy. And that is, it gets pretty boring for them to do just work every day in the dressage court. So what I try to do is, make sure that I try to mix it up for them, and so they can have fun and look forward to being ridden instead of dreading it. And I see so many people out there just never taking a break and, drilling. And it just breaks my heart. It's like, you going to work and never getting a break. It's just pretty soon you don't want to go to work. And so, I know there's a lot of areas that don't have access to either, other arenas or a grass field or a track or anything like that. But it doesn't mean that you can't change it up in the ring itself. And that means, don't just go start off and do your normal routine, but, make it a little fun. Get up off your seat, hand gallop a little bit and put a little, little poles on the ground if you don't want to jump them over a little jump. And just let them be a horse and kind of learn to have fun and laugh up there. And I just strongly believe in that. That's a little bit of, what I'm about and trying to keep the horses happy. And so that's my little tip of the day is try to make them happy horses and try to have fun with them as well as just think about the show.
Yeah, that mental freshness is so important, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing worse than watching a horse get sour and start to hang their head because they are just sour. It is as much mental as it is physical, isn't it?
It really is. Absolutely.
Well, that's a great tip, and I hope people will heed that, Debbie. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, no problem. And you can follow our show notes at www.dressageradio.com. Send us your feedback. Leave us a voicemail at 270-803-0025. The Dressage Radio Show has a fan page on Facebook, and there's a link to the page on our website. And you can follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. We would like to thank our sponsors, Equestrian Life and Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com.
Well, thanks for that, Debbie. And just to remind everybody, if you have any messages for Debbie as well as myself, you can email us at chris@horseradionetwork.com. If you have any suggestions for the show, if you have any questions about training, I'm sure Debbie would be delighted to help you out there. So just send those messages to me and I'll make sure Deb gets them and we'll discuss them on the show. Well, Debbie, we're just about running out of time here this week. It's been a joy to have you on again. Thank you so much for being with us and sitting in that co-host chair. I hope you're still having fun.
Oh, I am. It's a great time. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, we'll be back next week with Lisa Wilcox, who's our other co-host, and she and Debbie are going to alternate each week. So we mix it up a little bit for you here, and so it's not too much for any one of them. And we look forward to catching up with Lisa next week, and we'll be back with you in 2 weeks' time then, Debbie.
All right. Thanks a lot, Chris, for doing this. It's great to have it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks to everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.